So, take it back. I was 17 in college, second year of college, and I wanted to start working. So, started looking for jobs, a few retail jobs. Wanted to work at Sports Direct, got an interview, got late to the interview, so I didn't get the job. A couple of weeks later, my mum called me. She was working at GS at the time in the canteen. She said that, oh, she's been talking to a few IT guys in her company and they want to meet you to see if you can start working with them. So I came in, had a chat, told them what I'd do, what I wanted to do. And they said, yeah, we want to see you next week or next Friday. So obviously I was at college, so I was working Friday evenings across to like Sundays sometimes, and then coming back into college on a Monday. And in the summer, I'd do like a summer, if you want to call it a placement. So I'd work full time over the summer. So I did that for about 5 years. Obviously, I was in college for one more year, and then into uni, I was doing that as well. Yes. So this person was showing me the ropes. He actually introduced me to a few MDs at GS. So he took me to their offices. I had a chat with them, and I was just seeing things that I'd never even thought could even be like. You've heard of people that are rich, and all you think is, oh, you're rich, you got lots of money. That's it. You don't really know what they do to get their money, like the work side of things and how their lives are. They have other concurrent businesses whilst working where they're working. So yeah, he was very pivotal in my career at the time. Yes, I wanted to be a football player. Um, I think a lot of people around the time when I was growing up wanted to be sports players, namely football players, because I think that was the only kind of role models that we had at the time. It was all we were consuming at the time as well. Um, so yeah, so working at GS gave me an insight that a lot of people that I grew up with didn't have, and I was able to see something different. So after GS, I believe I was still at university. Well, just after GS, I was still at university, and I think I was in my final year, and I was starting to think, okay, I need to do something else now. What do I want to do? And I remember the guy he was sort of like my mentor. He was talking to me a lot about project management and telling me how vanilla it is, because you can take it into any type of industry or even any type of function within a particular industry. So he moved on to UBS, and then I think it was a few months later he called me and said, "Oh, Dexter, I've got an opening here for a project coordinator, and I know you wanted to get into project management, so I think this will be a good opportunity for you to learn the ropes." And I said, "Okay," and I jumped at it. After UBS, I job hopped, so I went to a few other companies. I think I went to another investment bank, Barclays. I went to an energy company, Shell. Went to a law firm called Allen and Overy. I just jumped around, and I think the last place I was KPMG, which I stayed there for like a year and a half, all doing like project management related jobs. And then it was at KPMG where I decided this was probably going to be my last corporate role, that I wanted to step out and do something on my own. Yeah, so towards the last 3 months of my time at KPMG, I met someone outside of work who was starting up or taking over an energy company that his dad was running, and he wanted to bring it to London and to establish it globally. We was talking about it, and I said I had an interest in going into energy as well, and he thought, okay, why don't we sit together and then see if we can work together? And yeah, so that was in 2014. I eventually left KPMG and I started doing that full time for a year and a half. We landed a project, which was a great win for us, and then because of the country that we were working in at the time, there's a little bit of politics in terms of when it comes to remuneration and things like that. So it was like, right, okay, I need something to tick me over because we weren't going to get paid on time. So I needed something to tick me over to keep me going. So I then went back to my project management role, but I did it at another company just on a contractual basis, just to see me through until we received our pay from the works. So that was a challenge in itself because you're self funding yourself now. So you need to think, okay, I need to go back to a 9 to 5 to pick up some money to pay for some bills and stuff like that. But I also need to keep the energy company running as well. So how do we do the both? How do we do the two? So we had an office in North Finchley. My colleague was doing the day to day, so he was in there every day, whilst I would go and work and help, keep the lights on, if you want to say. So juggling the two was a challenge, but it's something that's if you're really passionate about the thing you want to do, you'd do anything to support it. One of the key things is I kind of learned this quite late, but in terms of if you're getting an income, you need to think, right, first of all, we all hear about saving, saving, saving. Yes, it's good to save, whatever, but people don't know how to save. So you have to think of the various things that you want to save for. So you might be wanting to save for a house, wanting to save for holidays, wanting to save for miscellaneous things or things like clothes, anything. So for me, I say it's important to divvy up your savings. So there must be a cap somewhere down the line, but there's no limit to how many bank accounts you can have. If you get money coming in from one place and let's say I want to save £1,000 a month or something like that, don't just put £1,000 into one account to sit there, because what you'll find out is you'll have to keep going in there. So you want the money to go into places. There will be some accounts where you can dip into, so like things for like miscellaneous funds for unexpected fines or payments or whatever, and things for long-term investment like property or whatever. You can have a savings for that, have a savings for another thing, a savings for another thing. So you got your things, into separate accounts to help you achieve your savings goals. I'll tell you what, when I was a bit younger, so I was making a bit more money. It wasn't a loose cannon, but it was like, right, I got this amount of money. I know this amount of money is coming next week because I was kind of contracted. So it's like, right, I'm just going to spend this, whatever. I'm not even going to save anything. I'm going to spend it because I know money's coming in next week. So I did that, but then something happened in the week. I can't remember what it was, but it needed some sort of funding, and I wasn't really saving at the time. I was just kind of living in the moment, doing whatever I wanted to do. Then it hit me that you do need to, put money away for rainy days, and not only for that, but for the future as well. Which is why I mentioned earlier about having the different accounts to save into, because you never know what's going to hit you. I wish I was exposed or told that there's more to life than the environment that you're in. Because you come from your environment and you're thinking you're going to go into a new place and it's going to be the same, more or less the same kind of thing, but you're going to be exposed. But what you don't realize is you're exposed to people from different backgrounds, religious backgrounds, ethnicities, and even like if you want to say, it's just another world. And I wish I was just told that to be open-minded and to be patient. I think I was naturally patient anyway, but to just be attentive and listen to the different ways how people think, how people talk, and things like that. And that life can be hard if you don't organize yourself. I wish I was told that a 9 to 5 isn't everything. A lot of people think I need to just get a job and just get income coming in and just be. But there's a lot more that you can do with your time, especially your spare time. I'm glad that more people nowadays are becoming more entrepreneurial, venturing out on their own, doing their own things, which is great. Yeah, I wish I was told that I could do my own thing and still be successful. Um, you could share more. I mean, what you tend to find is people they're either scared or don't want to share information that they've acquired because they think that someone else is going to take it and run and probably use that information better than them. Um, Information is not meant to be stored somewhere. If that was the case, a lot of things in this world wouldn't have happened because a lot of things happen due to collaboration and information sharing. As you see, the internet is the biggest place to share information. If people didn't share that information on the internet, a lot of people wouldn't know a lot of things. We wouldn't be able to educate ourselves if we didn't share this information. Um, yeah, it's just to be a bit more generous and to talk to people. If you share a piece of information with someone, that person that you're sharing information to can not only share that information to other people, but they can also feed back the information you got, and you can also learn something from that as well. Everything I do, when I speak to somebody, I tell them every single thing that I do or have done. And I also give them ideas of what they could do as well. The reason why I do that is because I want to show people that there are possibilities and there are things that are happening in this world that they might not have been aware of. The same way as when I was growing up and or when I started working at GS and my mentor was showing me to different MDs, and they would do the same thing. They would tell me their backgrounds, what inspired them to do what they're doing, and how to achieve what kind of career path or what kind of path they took to get to where they were currently. I think it's important because you become a source of inspiration. So people can say, right, I want to be like him. How do I do that? Okay, I need to do what he did. Not just I want to be like him. How do I bypass everything that he did to get there? You need to know the stairway to where they currently are. But I also try to say to people, what are your interests? I want to know about you, and I want to see how I can help you as well. So it's important for people to be open about their interests and where they currently stand. Um, the type of microaggressions I received, I was quite fortunate because I didn't, you hear of all the the kind of racial kind of things that you might experience in the workplace. I was a little bit fortunate. I was either fortunate or maybe naive to know what was going on around me, but I didn't experience those things face on. But there are things that were going on in terms of people will look at me and say, I don't know if he can do the job because I looked young. I've always looked young for my age. And the way to overcome that is just to show them who you are. Like, if you have the opportunity, just say, this is what I can do. Do you want me or do you not want me to step on this project or to do this or to do that? But I did hear of experiences where people did experience some things, microaggressions, or even things like micromanagement and little niggly things that could annoy someone. As a black man, there are things that are happening. I'm not going to say that because I didn't experience it, things aren't happening. There are things that are happening in the workplace, and it's a bit funny because corporate companies now, or just companies in general, are trying to become more diverse, and they're saying that they're trying to become more diverse, but on the ground, they're not really making any major strides. they're doing it on a public, facing kind of thing, saying, "Oh yeah, we employ these type of people, we do this, we got these courses, we got all of that." But the people on the ground who have to work with other people in their offices are still experiencing these things, and a lot of things get wavered. It's just like you might go to speak to your manager and say, "Oh, I've experienced this kind of thing. I'm quite offended," and your manager could be like, "I don't think it's a bit lighthearted. Just walk away from it. It's nothing. There's nothing really going on." And some people can experience these things every day, and it's almost as if they're being told to suppress it because they just want to keep the working environment in a sane state. But my advice is, anything you do experience, do go to HR and just talk to people about it, because people might be able to give you advice. We need to. I think we need to try to educate people, people of color, and tell them or inform them that, hey, there is a chance for you to be promoted. This is what you have to do in order to get there. A lot of people feel like, I don't think I can go into that role for whatever reason. It might be a subconscious thing of, yeah, I'm a black person, I don't think they'd like a black person up there or something like that. If they're told that they can achieve and actually get up there, then I'm sure a lot more people will be going for these roles. And if you're going for these roles, then these companies can say, hey, okay, since we're trying to be diverse or whatever, let's get somebody in there and elect them to the board or elect them to management. The more people that we see of our color and of our background in management and in boards, it will start to make a difference, I believe. Yes, at my time at UBS, I started the role. Obviously, I knew somebody who brought me in there, but his manager took a liking to me, and that wasn't with my guys, saying, "Oh, this is my friend from GS. He's done this, he's done that." The guy started to take a liking to me, so he actually brought me up to the same level as the guy who brought me in, which was like within 3 months. He saw what I was doing. I was like, "No, I need you up here," and it was just, I found it a bit strange because I was like, I've always shadowed this guy. I'm younger than him. This guy's taken me on and kind of thing. And to say that we're working together, I was like, oh, I didn't know if I was worthy, but I relished in it. I was very grateful for the opportunity. Only because he'd been in the field longer than me. Then I started to realize, I don't think it's a time thing. People like to say, "Oh, you have to be doing this for X amount of years." Like, even if you go for if you're applying for a new job, they'll tell you that you need 5 years experience of doing this and that. But someone could be doing something for 5 years, but at a very poor standard, and someone could be doing that for 6 months and could be doing it to a great standard. You got to tell me you're going to employ the person who's been doing it at a poor standard for 5 years just because he's done it for 5 years, when someone else who clearly has the skills or transferable skills can do it, but they've obviously had less experience. So it taught me that time isn't everything. If you learn the skills, you can actually just power on and just keep climbing the ladder. Not necessarily, because I've never seen myself trying to get to, let's say, management or director level at a corporate company. For a long time, I've known that that's not where I wanted to be. My exposure at GS exposed me to things where I saw that people weren't valued. So they'd sack somebody just like that. They wouldn't even think about his situations or his or her situation at home, outside of the workplace. They'll just get rid of you and bring someone else in. So you're almost like, it's like a revolving door, or you're like a substitute. It's just like, okay, we don't want her anymore. Let's just get him in. And then you feel worthless if people are just letting you go like that. So you start to realize, I want to be in control of my own destiny. The only way to do that is if you start something of your own. Which is why when I was working at KPMG, I decided this was going to be my last corporate role. I want to step out on my own now. Very. I was speaking to someone the other day, and we were talking about the importance of your connections. That a lot of people are successful in the world today because of people they know. Not necessarily nepotism, which is kind of like frowned upon, but just general connections. You also have to do your bit and show that you're good at what you're doing. But if you also have a connection in somewhere, it's like, oh, there's a familiar face. Yeah, I know him. He could do the job. Like, it opens doors to you, and the more connections you have, the more doors you have open available to you. My best mate, since we were in secondary school, he knew what he wanted to do. He'd always said he wanted to be a businessman, and he never veered off of that idea. He stuck onto it, and let's say how many years on now? 15 years later, he's actually a businessman. He's doing wonderful things in the entertainment industry, and yeah, I guess he was a big inspiration for me. Looking back on it now, um, a female. I don't think I really have a female inspiration at this moment. There are people that inspire me to date, but in terms of having a big enough impact to inspire me, I don't think I have one to date. I think once you start talking to people and giving them advice, you're automatically enrolled as a mentor. Um, yeah, I wouldn't say, okay, I'm a mentor now. Let me start doing this. Like, I think we're all meant to be mentors, and we're meant to teach people how to be the younger generation, the older generation, whoever you speak to. You're meant to give guidance where you can, help, advise. Even if you can't give the information yourself, you can direct them to someone else. We're all mentors.